man.
What are you doing?
I'm drinking wine and eating cheese and catching some rays, you know.
What's happening?
Well, the tank's broken and they're trying to fix it.
Hi everybody, it's Dr. Drake 63 again here today. Gonna take a little bit of a detour from my normal journey talking about various firearms, and I'm gonna talk about what inspired me firearms-wise from more movies when I grew up as a kid and even more current day as an adult. I grew up in the late 60s, early 70s. I was born in 1963. And when I was a kid growing up, there was no such thing as rent a DVD. There wasn't even renting VHS in any way, shape, or form. What you really had was you caught movies as they came around to the theater or when they made it to TV. And I remember that ABC, I believe it was on Sunday nights, they used to have a movie if there wasn't some kind of sporting event or something going on. And it seemed like their regular cycle contained some of the same movies. So in other words, you might have an opportunity once or twice a year to watch some of the same movies. And in other networks too, putting on things like The Sound of Music and various other popular movies that had come out of theaters at that point. Well, there were several movies that just really caught my attention and really got me interested in the whole World War II thing. And the whole World War II weapons thing. I'll go ahead and talk about these as we go, but for you guys that might be somewhere around my age, I'm 53 right now, you might remember Where Eagles Dare coming around on the rotation and being excited about that, checking the TV guide. Kelly's Heroes was another one. And I'm going to talk about some other movies that I saw as a kid growing up. But what I specifically want to talk about is the weapons they introduced me to. So I'm not necessarily telling you I think these are the best war movies ever made. What I'm telling you is this is how I was exposed to some of the iconic weapons that we've seen. Some of them copies that we can own today. So I hope you enjoy. I'd love to hear about the movies that you've watched and that maybe I excluded. When I was a kid, this was probably my favorite movie, although this actually never happened in the movie. What did happen in the movie were tons and tons of MP40 machine pistolas. And man, did I think those were cool. With the underfolders, of course, nobody uses the underfolders in the movies with these, but Clint, of course, always gets to hold the cool-looking guns. And we got to see the blonde-haired Nazi, and he's got the Walther P38, which is also cool. Did I mention their MP40s? Love them. If you look at what this gun's capable of, it's amazing. It's 30 rounds of 9mm, but somehow, and I don't know how he does it, Clint's able to hold off a whole squad of guys who have these same wonder weapons long enough to accomplish the mission. I can't think about World War II movies without thinking about Kelly's Heroes. Besides Oddball here, I also recollect Don Rickles bitching the whole time about having to carry that heavy Browning .30 caliber all around. In addition to that, the future Kojak, Telly Savalas, looking good with the Tommy gun, and Clint Eastwood, who's made a career of looking good with and without guns, but it seems like he's always got a cool gun shot in just darn near every movie. I give an honorable mention to a great war movie, but one that didn't show me a lot of new guns. But the one new gun it did show me was the British Sten gun, the little 9mm submachine gun that apparently had the wonder qualities of any weapon in the war, even though it's kind of known by both sides that it was kind of a piece of crap. It was effective, it was improved as time went on, and I always thought it looked cool. anything that might have been technically wrong with this movie was made right by the mere presence of the Duke, John Wayne. From what I know, the most technically correct World War II movie when it comes to weaponry is Saving Private Ryan. Here we see Tom Hanks with a 1911. Here's the squad's BAR operator. Of course, Tom Hanks, being an officer, a captain, probably would have had something like a Tommy gun as opposed to the M1. Of course, we also see a good representation of German weapons like this Panzerfaust and this eerie depiction of the MG-42s as they wipe out Americans on the beach. And here we see the squad has taken an MG-42. Lots of exposure for the M1 carbine in this movie. Tom Sizemore, who plays Sergeant Horvath, is seen carrying this. It looks especially small because he's a big guy like myself. Good exposure for that weapon. And then, of course, fuck Hitler. Fuck Hitler. Oh, and if you want to see a lot of the same rifles, watch Enemy at the Gates. You'll see a ton of Mosin Nagants, which sadly is the only World War II rifle that I actually own. This is a movie about the relationship between men and their firearms.
Ho Chi Minh is the son of a bitch. Ho Chi Minh is the son of a bitch. Got the blue ball strap and the 7-year itch. This is my rifle, this is my gun. This is for fun and this is for fun. Right shoulder! This is my rifle. My rifle is my best friend. It is my life. Cover fire! Sir, yes, sir! All 300 infantry.
To me, this is the epitome of the M16 movie. Even though they don't train with the M16, and a lot of this also shows the M60, and of course a big guy like Animal Mother carrying it, what you see is the bond and the togetherness and how close these guys are to their damn rifle. It's a well-made movie because it captures really what the spirit of military training and then going into combat is about. It's being one with your weapon. It's knowing how to fire it. It's being proficient at taking it apart. It's being a master. And that's what these guys pretty much are. Of course, you catch a bullet and life's different. The irony of this whole movie is that the DI dies from a bullet. You're probably wondering, when is this dumb son of a bitch going to bring up the AK? Well, here you go. I was aware of its existence, obviously, long before Red Dawn came out in 1984, but this is the first movie that you really got to see it up close a lot. You got to see an American guy doing a battlefield pickup, and then, of course, you got to see some cute chicks firing it as well. But this was kind of the start. There are many movies after, but this is the first one that really showed the AK. There's a ton of movies out there, war movies of all generations and all decades that do very good jobs of depicting different weapons. And, you know, I talked about a handful of weapons and I talked about a handful of movies. There's lots more there, but I tried to pick some that, like I said, kind of got me interested in the whole idea of firearms beyond just for hunting or something like that. Again, I want to thank you for tuning in, again, for Dr. Drake 63. Thanks for watching, and look forward to your comments. This is something we could probably make a part 2 or 3, no problem.